it's one of those really late sort of reviews, guys. It's as cold as a mother-in-law's kiss here in Melbourne. But this has been a time management thing rather than me just trying to cool down or to reflect. It's far from that. In fact, I feel pretty much the same way I did on Saturday night as I do sitting here right now doing this review of our 14-point loss to the Western Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium on Saturday night. I must admit, the last 2 weeks, you can generally feel really gutted about a loss. And I didn't necessarily feel gutted for Patrick Cripps because essentially he summed it up, I think. I didn't listen to his post-match speech in the rooms, but he pretty much summed it up when he brushed off his teammates and said, no, don't carry me off the ground. He's basically telling us that he's part of this football team. You know, he's responsible. Like all the players and coaches are. He's responsible. He's got a responsibility. He doesn't want to be put on a pedestal. Okay, and as much as it was disappointing that we couldn't get the win, he said, no, winning in the context of where we're going is a lot more important than carrying me off this fucking ground. So he pretty much summed it up. So I didn't feel the need to be like, oh, he sort of sat there and we didn't do it for Cripper and all that type of stuff. Before the game, I was thinking, yeah, we can find something, find that extra piece of incentive or bit of incentive. But once I saw Cripper do that, I just thought to myself, nah, he doesn't care about 200 games. He just cares about winning. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about. And we didn't get the job done 2nd week in a row. So I felt somewhat indifferent. And what I mean by indifferent, not apathetic, not overly concerned. I hated our performance, just like I did against the GWS Giants, but I've seen it coming. And I don't mean to be sitting here and being Nostradamus, because go back to all my previews over the last couple of weeks after the Richmond win, that I said we'd reached this point in the season where we're in such good form, red hot form. Okay, blistering, touch it, burn it. There is no way in the wide world we could keep that up, and dangerous to expect us to keep that up and just roll into a final series. It was never going to happen. So I don't necessarily see this form slump as a bad thing. I can't predict the future now and say, okay, it's just going to turn around. But history suggests, recent history of Michael Voss suggests that they will get it right and they'll rediscover their mojo over the course of the coming weeks. All right? Okay, so I am somewhat confident in that. Does that take away from the fact that we have been fucking terrible over the last couple of weeks? No. So you can assess the last couple of weeks. Is it a trend? Is 2 weeks a trend? 2 losses in a row a trend? I don't think so. All right? And I'm taking the margin out of the equation here because I feel like we've been comprehensively beaten against the Giants and the Bulldogs. And hats off to the doggies. They were magnificent. If we played like that, we would be lauding it, not looking at us. And that's what footy fans do. You lose, you say you played poorly. You win, you say you play. It's just the way it rolls. But go back and have a listen. This is why I'm a little bit indifferent. This is why I'm not so concerned. Because I fully expected, I felt like we were going to lose one out of the next 2, whether it was the Giants or the Western Bulldogs. The fact that we've lost both doesn't come as a huge surprise, though. The fact that we didn't get a response, a really big response after the Giants loss, I'm disappointed with that, but not surprised. If you're down on a bit of confidence and you can't get particular parts of your game right, it does get away from it. And these games have certainly got away from us. And we've faced 2 really stiff opposition who are fighting for their seasons. And I mean literally fighting. Now, the problem we have now is the pack is really tightening. That peloton is really tightening. Okay, we've got a leader out the front and we've got this pack. So the next 6 weeks become crucial for us to be rediscovering what made us such a really good football team. And whether that is just slightly tweaking selection, bringing in hungrier players, or players in better form, I'm not quite sure. But certainly selection, okay, can be questioned. And I think rightly so, a lot of things can be questioned, and that's what happens when you perform so poorly over the course of a couple of weeks. But I'll go back. When I did that monologue, that 7-minute monologue, whatever it was after the Richmond win, when we were on a roll, and I mean a roll, every fucking fan was drinking their own bathwater. We're just going to roll on and win the fucking premiership. That's how good we are. We're the second best team in it. The media are fucking loving us, okay? If you are looking for validation from other people telling us how good you are, you're in the wrong game. Look at the team. Look what the team are doing. Don't go searching. It's quite ironic that here I am on YouTube talking to you, okay, that you may come to me here or come to this channel. But really look at the proof from our team. Try and be realistic. This is a competition with 18 teams in it, all desperate to win, all desperate to get better. All right, we can't just think that we, okay, are just going to be this super football team and there's not going to be some slumps in form. And that's happened now. This is a bit of a slump. But I said after the Richmond win that we are that team. Yeah, we are that team that has built consistency. Okay, we are that team that's have great leadership, really good street leadership. We are that team that's got incredible gears, can score heavily, can defend strongly. We are that team, okay, that have suddenly have these role players, really important role players. We are that team that have stars on every line as well. Blah, blah, blah. We are that team that's in a position, if we keep it going, to contend for a grand final in 2024. But I stopped short there. And I copped it. I copped it because people were going, oh, you're too negative. You're too negative. I said, but when I woke up that next day after the Richmond loss, I said, but today, I can't help feel as much as we are that team, we aren't that team, not even close to being that team yet. There's still a mountain of work to do, and I mean a mountain of work to do, even just to reach the pinnacle, which is a grand final and win a grand final, let alone, because I was paying homage to Richmond because we'd just beaten them, okay, the once almighty Richmond Football Club. I said, let alone create a dynasty, what Richmond were able to do, 3 grand finals in 4 years. And they got it done when they were red hot, when they were right in that window. And that's all I was saying. I then went on to say, everything feels great at the moment. And for that, I'm grateful. However, are we that team that can strike while we are hot, while we are in that window? Because right now we have achieved something. We were second on the ladder. We'd achieved some consistency. We'd achieved, okay, that we were a decent football team. But I went on to finish by saying, but we have achieved nothing. Nothing. I also said in the preview that I expected that we would drop some games and the form would dip. It had to. It had to dip. So I can't sit here now, guys, and just go, oh, what the fuck has happened? Why? Oh, my God, we're done. The season's finished, okay? Because I fully expected this. You can't just be on top of the ground for the whole season. And it's just that type of year, which makes it intriguing, really intriguing. And it also puts question marks on us to see whether we can respond, whether the coaches have got it in them to, one, not panic, not be overreactionary, but also to get selection right. Because there's been a lot of trust given to the core group of these players, you know. They got them through that really difficult patch, most of this group, but some of them have really tapered off. So it'll be interesting over the course of the next few weeks how many of them do go, how many of them go back to the VFL to rediscover their form. Because it's not all over. There's still 6 weeks to go. And I assume that we'll still be playing finals football in 2024. It's not about that. So we were made to look really ordinary by red-hot Western Bulldogs who brought the heat. from the start. I agree with Michael Voss that we never really looked like winning that game. Every time we got in striking distance, the Dogs just found something. They found an extra gear themselves, whether it was a clearance out of the middle or really clear, clearance. They were hungry at the contest. We were just off. Okay, we were just off, whether that was at the centre bounce, whether it was around the stoppages around the ground. I don't know how many goals they scored from actually centre square clearances, but they certainly scored a lot of goal from stoppages itself. And our defence, which looks really shaky, when we can't, I suppose, stop the supply of inside 50s, and we couldn't absorb. Our defence at the moment can't absorb the heat which is applied from a cracked midfield, and the Western Bulldogs midfield was on fire. And the numbers lie in this game. I mean, you look at it, the numbers just really lie. It looks like on paper, okay, if you look at the raw numbers, that we were right in this contest, but they just executed everything at the right time. They were a lot cleaner. Once they got the ball, they were a lot faster, and we were all on the back foot, which was really concerning. And we were out-coached at selection, particularly out-hunted, and in the end, outrun. And it just looked like, when that is the case, it looks like there's a real lack of hunger from the start of the game. I thought the Bulldogs should have been in front. They kicked poorly in that first quarter, and we didn't, for the most part, late in the game, when it looked like we might, okay, have a bit of a comeback. We just didn't take our moments. We were smashed around the ball. We were slow to react at the contest, and we were a yard off the pace, and we couldn't build any real momentum in this game in our execution, which was such a, I suppose, a feature of our game in that 5-week patch. It's just eluded us at the moment. The two rucks just not working, Pitnet and TDK. There's no surprise that when TDK is not the sole ruckman, his form somewhat subsides. When he went in there late in the game, he certainly gave us a little bit more energy, a little bit more speed at the contest. But the two rucks is not working. That was a concern. And the fact that Matthew Kennedy, for fuck's sake, started as the sub, I thought he was one of our better players in a really poor loss against the GWS the week before. To take in, not play George Hewitt, and then start another one of your inside mids against a really strong Western Bulldogs midfield as the sub, you just sort of shake your head. I'm going to actually go through each player, and I'm just going to quickly give a bit of a... There's not much to say here, guys. It's going to be really brutal, I must say. This is nothing personal. And as I said, I've got trust, a lot of trust that this group can fight back. But there are a lot of holes at the moment in this football team. But that is exposed when you're playing poorly. And we weren't talking about these same holes when we were winning games and winning games really strongly. And this isn't really much of a different side. We were talking about this group. We were talking about these role players. And a perfect example of that is someone like Jordan Boyd. When your stars aren't performing at their optimum level, it puts a lot of pressure on your next layer of players. Someone like Jordan Boyd, his last 2 weeks have been terrible. Okay? Jordan Boyd is that 14 to 15 disposal winner. He had those again on the weekend, but 4 or 5 of his kicks looked like they went out in the full. He was 3 or 4 yards off his opponent every time it went forward. He suddenly looks like a player. Okay, why? Okay, why was he never picked up, okay, in the draft originally? Why was he never, okay, part of the Coates Talent League? He's starting to look like that player now. I do have trust that he can bounce back, but isn't it funny when the pressure really goes on that next layer of players because your stars aren't stepping out, everything falls apart. Lockie Cowan, poor game. I reckon he's had 2 poor games in a row. His position in the team must be now, okay, questionable. Like him, think he's going to be a fine player. Second-year player, yes, 47 metres gained, not getting enough from him offensively. And I thought, okay, defensively, he was off his game. Ollie Hollands needs a spell into 2s. Not strong enough, got his pants pulled down by Caleb Poulter, who thought I was outstanding for the Western Bulldogs. I'm not getting carried away with 16 disposals. I'm really not. In fact, the last 2 games, he's had 16 touches. He's not giving us a lot of run. He doesn't tackle very well. Okay, he's weak at the contest. I know he's a gut runner and he provides that defensive type of work, but he's just not giving us enough. Adam Chera in poor form. I don't really care now that he's his 3rd game back. We expect a lot more from him. I reckon him in particular needs to have a really good hard look at himself. I think he's just going along at the moment, just going along. He looks just a run-of-the-mill midfielder, and we need more from him. Zach Williams went off with a hamstring injury. Before that, wasn't getting a lot from him. Matthew Kennedy, bizarre. As I mentioned, bizarre to start him as a midfielder. Once he came on, because he got an opportunity to come on, okay, didn't give us a lot. Lockie Fogarty, poor game. Didn't get a lot from him defensively and missed some crucial shots. One really crucial shot from about 15, 20 metres out. Not good enough. Cripper, clearly our best player. Gave it his absolute fucking all for the whole night, really. Harry started on fire, but as the game progressed and our supply stopped, Lob just started to get on top of him, particularly, okay, in the one-on-one contests, which was really disappointing because he started so well. De Conning, I think, what the fuck's going on there playing 2 ruckman? Not quite sure. De Conning will never be a tall forward. Never. Never. He might pop a goal out of his arsehole once in a blue moon, but that's just not working. It just compromises our speed at ground level. Blake Acres, I thought he was our 2nd best player behind Patrick Cripps. As usual, fights his arse off for 4 quarters. Brady Kemp, wow. What can you say? Oh, not good enough. Not good enough. Every time that ball comes in high, I don't think he's got the strength or the body size. Can take a really nice mark every now and then. I just don't think there's huge concerns, okay, on our key defenders. And he's one of them. Sam Walsh, just in poor form at the moment. 2nd week in a row, he's been taken out of the game. And when he's in this type of form, he gets frustrated. Some overzealous high tackles, which proved costly. I did actually notice, if anyone noticed when I watched the replay, that in that 3rd quarter, he was actually holding at his back. I'm not quite sure if that's just his demeanour. But I don't want to make excuses for Sam Walsh, but he was really well beaten by Ed Richards on Saturday night. Elijah Hollins, I think that's 2 pretty ordinary games in a row. He's been okay. Kicked a goal from 19 touches, but not providing a lot of spark like he did, okay, in that really nice patch, that 5-week patch. Caleb Marchbank looks well off the pace, came into the team. Wiedering outstanding early, but the Dogs did exceptionally well after quarter time to spread him, to put him in dangerous positions on the ground where he had to really defend, and he wasn't able to do that. He's just asked to do too much. Couldn't get Newman high up the ground. Most of his possessions were won in the back half and made some crucial mistakes. Pitnet, I'm not going to say much more about his performance. It wasn't horrible from a statistical point of view. He had 36 hitouts, but provided us very little around the ground. Curnow, just a messy game. And I mean really messy. 3 goals, 7. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on inside Charlie's head at the moment. It must be a really tough position to play key forward, and the sole job of a defender is to take you out of the game. But I'll say it once. I've said it a few times. That didn't make sense. I don't think Charlie's season's going to be measured on his performance in a home and away season. I couldn't give a flying fuck about the Coleman medal. I'm just looking forward to watching this man, this superstar, perform in the finals. That's all he's going to be measured on this year. That's if we make it, which I expect we do. Mentioned Jordan Boyd, just his form's tapered, maybe a time in the VFL. I actually thought Alex Chincotta was okay. I think we got it wrong with Bont, although Bont wasn't big early, but Dale was the one that completely tore us apart. completely tore us apart. And the damage had already been done, really. But I thought Chincotta battled on okay. Sard was part of a defence which was under the pump all night, provided 540 metres game from 24 touches, was okay. Got caught on his right foot a lot, which has become a little bit of a habit for him. Always started like a house on fire, but really after that didn't offer much at all. And Matthew Cottrell played one of the worst games I've seen from a Carlton footballer in such a long fucking time. And if he's playing in this senior team next week, I will be very, very surprised. Take care. See you soon.